How do I turn off the please wait screen? There we go. Awesome. Maybe we'll turn down the louder music. I don't know. It's a chill stream, right? Nobody watches. So do I want to hear music? Because if I want to hear music, then I'm the one who's going to be listening to it. That's pretty much how it's going to have to be. It's not like there's going to be anybody who watches, even if it wasn't just a chill stream. You may attempt to check dual strike. Okay, so yeah, these fit. Barely, but nonetheless. Holidays. Okay. What was it that we were talking about? There's a reason I'm doing this, and I blame Sharia because it's her fault, but I want to more specifically discuss what I'm supposed to be doing here. It was in this Discord, because you never know. There's so many Discords with so many. What do we call these? Little rooms that we do Discord things in. The Discord itself is a server, and these are channels. Yes, channels. That's what we call them. I've been losing my mind. And I don't remember things like the word channel anymore. Without medicinal help. Things that need to be discussed. Something around scent, which is interesting, and there are things we could discuss in that regard. Blind fight stuff. Yeah, I've been thinking for a while about having some kind of blind fight track. So that's good. I'm on board. I was hesitant, but I can't remember why. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know about that because I don't actually know. She's gone. I cannot unmute her because she has left. Presumably the drive-thru proved to be more complicated than she had anticipated. Aquatic expansion feat? I don't know. There probably needs to be a whole thing specifically for underwater shit. Which is funny, because it's like, you could do a thing that was just like all kinds of alternatives to normal things, like adventures in the astral plane, now that garbage is back. I don't know. It's kind of neat. It's just, they make themselves into fucking monoliths, you know? And you can't sort of operate using them. You have to operate in them or not in them, right? Like the astral plane is this whole other thing, which is all wild and weird, and it's a bit much compared to just having something astral-ish that you're encountering in reality, like, you know, the ethereal plane, for example, you can slide in and out of, and it's not an all or none kind of thing, and the astral plane is just a fucking weird place, rules is written. But then you look at, you know, deep sea, sort of the same thing. If you're under the ocean, you're under the ocean, and it's going to be that way as well. Hello! Invited to play Cyberpunk Red campaign. Cyberpunk Red? Is that the original? The thing is, I've got Cyberpunk books. I've never played the actual original Cyberpunk. I came close once, but if we were doing anything like that, it was Shadowrun. Filipino Chula Fixer. You made a fixer? That doesn't seem sensible. Why would, I mean, you shouldn't start as a fixer, first of all. I wouldn't think. Like, you're already familiar with it and this is a new campaign or something? Because the fixer's the one who sets up the jobs. Yes, the delay is monstrous. This is true. Man, I love a lot of things about Cyberpunk, where it came from, where it went, the now alternate history. But some of it was so goofy, even for its time. I mean, I know it was supposed to be, but like all the stuff about Arasaka, the old man, I can't believe, is the old man Saburo Arasaka? I don't remember. I don't remember the old man's name. The one who gets spoilered. He gets spoilered very hard. But yeah, he's a fighter pilot in World War II and lived 150 years. It's just like, it's fucking silly. Initial message come up. Oh, wheelie dealy. Well, that's not what I mean. I just mean that I would assume that it's better to not start as one unless you are experienced as a player. Let's do a Google real quick so I can competent in this. Cause like I've been thinking of doing something very Cyberpunk adjacent with the winter break if I have one. Although that's looking a bit hopes for that are a bit dim at the moment because that break is theoretically 2 weeks in and nothing has come of it, and I'm still waiting to hear from the graduate school I've applied to, and I don't have plans for my future, let alone my present. Strike that. Reverse it. Specifically starter box. It's a re-release? Because this thing here says published 2019, which is hilarious because it's pretty much the like 35th anniversary or something. No, the delay is as it is. That's, welcome to Twitch. 5 seconds? Actually, 5 seconds. 5 seconds isn't 5 seconds isn't that bad by Idaho standards. I live in Tater country. 5 seconds, it's that's something. Well, I muted Sharia because she was performing transactions, and I thought it might be best for her to be briefly muted for that time, but she's left the Discord call in that time. So now I'm alone in the room, so I don't know what's happened there. Latest edition. So do they have the alternate history? Did they redo things starting from now? On Drive Thru RPG. Realistic action and playability. I don't know if anybody's coming to Cyberpunk for realistic. I mean, it's more realistic than Shadowrun. And Shadowrun, now that I think about it, it's more realistic in a lot of ways than Dungeons & Dragons. Despite it being straight up Cyberpunk Dungeons & Dragons. Restarted the world. Yeah. I don't know. I guess. Because 2077 is, as far as I'm aware, the original timeline. Except there's some weird things happening there, too. Because Johnny was a kid when he went to war in Mexico. I don't know how long that war was going on. But Johnny died 50 years before the events of the game 2077 take place, presumably in 2077. And you meet people who were like pushing 30 who served in Mexico. So unless that war has been going on 70 years, which I guess is possible, just seems like maybe there might be an issue there. Still mostly there. So they still have, like, the Soviet Union is still around, for example. Red jumpsuit, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like cyberpunk as a concept for sure. And I've been thinking of doing something. I might try to do something much further into the future, but sort of mimic some of the concepts of how the jobs worked in Shadowrun, which is to say the classes, what we would call classes. And I'd have the street samurai, the riggers, the netrunners, and specialists. And then work those as kind of build them into sort of kits that could mix and match. And you'd mix and match these kits in order to get outcomes. I might do a face that might be separate, and like a fixer would probably just have would be a double face, whereas a character that I personally would want to play would probably be a samurai specialist. Or I've been thinking about doing psychic stuff. And then it might even be like a specialist psychic or a samurai psychic. Prepared monologue with the cyberpunk slang, dude. I don't know. Some of it. Look here, Choom. Some of it's really gonk, right? Like, it's very difficult to say a lot of it and take yourself seriously. Because it's so fucking silly. Preem. Actually, Preem kind of works. I like Preem. Spicy and sassy. Yeah, nope, that's very confusing. Hey, you're back. Hello and welcome back.
Hello.
Yeah, good. Okay. I muted you for your transaction and then was going to unmute you, but you were no longer in the Discord call.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we were discussing cyberpunk. And I was talking about what I might be planning to do.
So overall, how many stars would you give it for you, and how many stars would you give it in general?
What do you mean?
Sometimes a game is bad, but you love it anyway. In which
You
case,
mean
you
okay?
personally give it
So
extra stars.
you mean 2077?
Yes.
Okay. We were talking about because this is the genre for this event is TTRPG. Actually, I might not have changed what it was. It might technically be Dungeons and Dragons, which I should probably change. Nah, it's fine. It was supposed to be Dungeons and Dragons. Who knows? Maybe it still will be.
Yeah, I have plans.
But as I was saying, I was thinking for the thing I was talking about doing over the break, the thing I've been trying to rope other streamers into. I've been thinking about doing something cyberpunk-ish, but like way far future. Maybe even in the science fiction universe, the Milky Way Alliance, which is the system that I was using this for anyway, unless they like the idea of steampunk better, and then obviously we'll do Shining Age. But yeah, I was talking about having basically the classes from Shadowrun, more or less, and
Right.
then like sort of cutting them into sections. And so you would have two skill sets, and the skill sets would be like a handful of things that somebody would want from one of these groups. And I'm thinking I'm going to do the psychic stuff instead of magic like they have in Shadowrun. But then all this stuff from Cyberpunk, obviously. I haven't seen any riggers per se. Netrunners seem to have droids, and the droids are autonomous, or the vehicles have AI. The people don't run the rigs like they do in Shadowrun, which surprised me. And I don't know that much about the TTRPG because I never got into it. I never actually played it.
I played it once.
Yeah, I have a bunch of the books, but it was always Shadowrun if push came to shove with cyberpunk stuff.
But you've been playing an awful lot of the video game.
Well, I have. I think everybody has.
I've been playing the new Stardew update. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't played every. So something else came out first. What was it? I don't even remember now. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe I just got my hands on Red Dead Redemption. That's what it was. It took me forever to get the damn game to run. And then I'm sort of glad that happened, because as annoying as it was, the same thing was happening with Cyberpunk. So when Cyberpunk quit working or wouldn't work, I was able to quickly get it together because it was similar to the problem that was happening with Red Dead Redemption, which has something to do with how it tries to do field of view if you have more than one monitor. If you have multiple monitors and you have the field of view set up, it'll crash the game for some reason. So you have to like tone down the field of view to make the field of view smaller, or it gets confused about what it's sent into the wireless or to the video card or some shit, and the program crashes. It doesn't even make sense, but here we are. I mean, I'm having this conversation for the sake of somebody that doesn't seem to be in chat anymore, but I don't have mods, so I don't know. We don't know how to run this shit show.
Users in chat.
Yeah, switching to the mode myself. There's no reason to be in. A surprising list considering the circumstances.
I mean, I see 2 viewers and I see like 8 people in chat.
Yeah, which indicates that they've come and gone, but still,
okay.
It's like Ow. I guess a lot of people came in and were like, huh, that's interesting, and moved on. Like, we have been window shopped a number of times today.
Yeah.
Bad girl. Oh. Okay, so, I suppose we might as well get on task now that you're here.
Yeah. So, I was reminiscing about how I really like being one of the gnomes with scent, because
Yeah.
the whole, why should I tell you how I can find you when you're invisible? You're cheating.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm a gnome and I have to say it funny.
That was all. Yeah, exactly. It was a very gnome way to respond to the situation, which was compounded grossly by it being descended to Avernus.
Right?
I mean, it was dark, dark shit, and you brought a gnome, and it was beautiful. The more I think about it, the more... I mean, I don't know. I remember thinking that you guys were absolutely the wrong group, and some of you were. But I've done a 180 on you and Miriam there, not just because it turns out Miriam was secretly a psychopath, but also because your guys' way of doing things creates such a stark differential. Like, you guys are your own Lulu. It really works. I mean, even your character alone was silly, upbeat, funny. The backstory was a cartoon compared to the dark reality of the streets, but lived on rats and was, kind of sad and best friends with a murder device, a living meat grinder. So it's I don't know. I think that did work. There was something about that worked in ways I didn't expect it to, and I think I was missing a potential dimension to that story until, I was working with you two. So yeah, it's really good actually.
Well, my character was clearly the comic relief character, but
yeah,
not in
sure
the
I'm gonna be honest. I think you were all comic relief.
That is true. To be fair, Descendant of Avernus needs a lot of comic relief. But, so, I really like that, and I remembered, previous times when I or other players have done similar things, but it's never been with scent, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder what sort of character could take blind fight. Wait, do we even have blind fight in Lampedition? So I'm looking it up. You don't seem to have it. I'm not sure if that's because 4th edition and 5th edition didn't have it.
Oh, they did. I'm not sure why I don't.
Alright.
In fact, I was thinking about that, because I was I felt it when I first saw that, and you said that, I was oh, I don't know, I'm sort of reluctant to do something like that. But I'm why? Because I can think of a lot of reasons why it might be interesting to have, but I can't think of any reasons to not have it.
So, the thing with blind fight, especially if you have it as, say, a feat, is you have to give up a feat for it.
Yeah, but in the Lampedition, you're up to your fucking eyeballs and feet.
Well, yes, but
I think in 5th edition, it's actually one of the fighter subtypes that gets blind fight. Because it would be.
But think about it this way. If you have to choose between blind fight and spell training...
Well, sure. But if you don't, because you're probably a fighter or a monk...
or a monk. Which, by the way, another option is to make, present sense, which would be basically blind fight, but, you're sensing their presence via psionic abilities, which is a low-key but passive mind sense, right? Which I think mind sensing is a ritual, but it would be...
Yeah, well... Yeah, there's something
down.
like that. Because that's from 2nd edition.
Yeah, that would be a cool passive feature for a monk. Right?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I don't remember why, but I was thinking about doing something like a monk passive that does that. but I don't think it makes sense. Because remember, I mean, it makes sense. It's the easy way, but we shouldn't need it because remember, we should be thinking about things like spell training as flavor. We're instead imposing our ideas of what spellcasters are from other games into how a spellcaster works. But a monk using like ancient kung fu secrets to do weird shit could just take spell training and do that. There's nothing stopping them. It's just it takes a while, so they wouldn't do it in combat, right? But it's down to the flavor at that point. And we should be facilitating that, as opposed to saying, well, since we don't think about spells as working this way, let's give them a feature instead that does it. Which is just adding chunk to the game it doesn't need. Whereas, as a track feat for blind fighting, now that's different. Because that is something that people could choose to do regardless of what their class is.
I took it all the way up to Tremor Sense with my masochistic scout, by the way, and that was great.
Yeah, but I think Tremor Sense is too specific. I think it should just get to the point that it's some kind of blind sight, if that, and then we don't talk about. Because if you're talking about whether or not your Tremor Sense should work when you're underwater, you are neck deep in Pathfinder nonsense, and I don't think that should be necessary.
To be fair, I'm all about the Pathfinder nonsense, so
No,
that's why I'm running at Pat's Jew and whatnot.
No, I mean the people who are like, who are nitpicking. I'm talking about the people who are trying to make the wrestler horse. That's what I'm talking about. We don't need wrestler horses. We're not. The rules don't have to exist for their own sake and then be taken advantage of.
Yeah. But yeah,
there should be a blind fight track.
All right, cool. Blind fight track, which might end up in blind sight, I suppose.
I do not know. I suspect not, because the thing about we don't want to think of it in terms of being an alternative to
seeing.
Yeah, because I mean, first of all, it's like if you think about 5th edition, blind fighting is going to be fairly pointless in situations outside of being the token human, because almost everybody has dark vision, right? So if we think about it that way, then a lot of what it has to offer is already undermined by most of the creatures in the game.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because there's other ways to blind a person than just putting them in the dark.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm saying as a track, we want to avoid thinking about it in terms of an alternative for seeing, and instead think more directly in those terms. Like, for example, what is it that the initial blind fight's gonna do, right? And the first thought is probably negate the
being ashamed while you're blinded.
Shinfu? What?
It prevents you from getting shanked while you're blinded.
Well, does it?
Via shank.
Let's see. Subject cannot see. Enemies have total concealment. Subject cannot flank. Has a -10 to perception. CA, which means providing combat advantage. So this is all horseshit. Like I'm gonna put this in some chats. Look at this shit. Like, oh, it brings the little doodle in here. I don't need the little doodle. But it doesn't keep it underlined. Ugh.
Thank you for your time.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.